Okay, Year 8, welcome to your tutorial on converting fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. Woohoo! So excited! Okay, what is it? What are we looking at today? We are going to look at the way in which fractions and decimals are just two different ways of representing exactly the same thing. So here's a stupid picture of my face. Let's see, and I'm going to colour in this. Imagine I've coloured in all of it, and I'm going to colour in this guy here. Now, most of you are saying, yep, I got it, you've coloured in a half. That's how we represent a half. Okay? But you guys are also going to understand, hopefully, that 0.5, or that decimal of 0.5, is just another way of representing a half. Okay? They're exactly the same thing. It's just two different ways of representing the same thing. Today, we're going to learn about how, okay, if I know that's a half, what does that look like as its equivalent decimal? Or if I've got a decimal, what does that look like in its equivalent fraction? It's pretty straightforward. Hopefully a lot of it will be revision for most of you. Okay, so now we're going to convert a fraction to a decimal. So say, let's start off with one that's pretty simple. We'll start off with 1/5. Okay, we'll start off with 1/5. Now, what that is saying is 1 divided by 5. That's what we're saying there. We're saying 1 divided by. That's what that fraction line means. It's just another way of saying division. Hopefully some of you should remember this from last year. So if I'm saying 1 divided by 5, how can I rewrite that in a division? Okay, so 1, okay, and I'm going to divide it by 5. Now I put 2 zeros. As you'll see, sometimes you need a few more zeros. You add zeros where appropriate. This will make sense in a second. So, 5 into 1. Can't do it. Okay, 5 cannot go into 1, so I put a 0. I place my decimal point above my other decimal point in the relevant spot. Okay, so decimal point above decimal point. Then I carry my 1 over, so 5 doesn't go into 1, so I'm going to carry my 1 over here. Sorry, that looked a bit dodgy. Imagine it's gone above. So then that becomes 10, and I go 5 into 10 goes twice. Okay, so my answer for 1/5, converting that into a decimal, becomes 0.2. Cool, and that's it, guys. It's pretty straightforward. It's not too tricky. Delete that, and let's have a look at another example. Okay, so we were learning about last lesson converting mixed numerals into improper fractions. So let's try converting a mixed numeral. So 5 on 12. So the first thing you need to know, guys, the very first thing you need to know is that before I can do anything with a mixed numeral, I need to convert it into an improper fraction, okay? I can't just do a straight division. That's 5 divided by 12 plus 4 wholes. I can't really work with it at the moment. So I have to convert it into something that I can work with, which will be an improper fraction. So 12 multiplied by 4, 48. My new number of 48 plus 5. 48 plus 5 equals 53 on 12. So I keep my denominator the same when I make it an improper fraction, okay? If you're confused on this step, you need to go back and have a look at the tutorial. So then that becomes 12, that's saying 53 divided by 12. One more time, 53 divided by 12. So let's go up here and do that. So it becomes 12, 53.00. I'll just put 3 zeros for the time being. You can keep on adding zeros if you have a recurring decimal, okay? That's fine. So how many times does 12 go into 53? I've established that it's 4 times. Put my decimal point there, decimal points above decimal points, and there's a remainder of 5. Okay? How many times does 12 go into 50? 4. And there's a remainder of 2. Of course, 48. Okay? How many times does 12 go into 20? Once, with a remainder of 8. Then how many times does 12 go into 80? Oh, finally, I've got something. Okay? Goes 4 times. And remember last lesson we looked at rounding, so I would round that decimal to, let's say round it to 2 decimal places, okay? Usually tends to be the best idea. So here's my decimal point. There's place 1, there's place 2. I look to the next critical digit. It is greater than 5, so therefore my answer becomes 4.4. And then this place to which I'm rounding, I round up, 4.42. That's the answer there, guys, 4.42. So 4 5/12 is 4.42 as a decimal. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, decimals to fractions. This one's actually really kind of super easy. So let's have a look at this decimal to start with, 0.25. Okay, 0.25. First thing you do is you write down the decimal, 0.25. Then you write the denominator. Okay, now what denominator you write depends on the number of decimal places. So this question has 2 decimal places, so therefore I'm writing it over 100. Okay, then I just simply put the 25 over the 100. Okay, that's all there is. 25 over 100, I've counted the number of decimal places, I've decided it's 2, I put the 2 zeros. Most of you should get this one pretty easy. Then, what's the last thing I need to do? Always simplify by finding the highest common factor. What is the highest common factor or highest common whole number that goes into both of these? Sorry, 25. Oh, you're so right. 25 goes into 25 once and into 100 5 times. So my answer becomes 1/5. Okay, what happens if I have a bit more of a tricky one to do? So let's try this decimal, 1.342. Okay, 1.342. So already I notice it's a bit weird. There's already a whole there. I know that if it's before the decimal place, that's a units place value. So it's going to be a whole. So if there's a whole, I wonder if how I'm going to write that. I wonder if I've looked at anything similar before. If you actually break the question down, guys, it's 1 plus 0.342. Okay, so I've got one whole, and then I've got this decimal of 0.342. So let's just deal with the 3.342 first. So I can say, okay, there's 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So it becomes 342 over 1,000. Okay, and I've still got this 1, so I'll just put it in there to start with. 1 plus 342 over 1,000. Okay, so let's just deal with this 342 over 1,000 for the time being. Okay, cool. So I've just gotten rid of some of my other working out, and I've just put this here. Okay, so this is the decimal I'm trying to convert. So 342 over 1,000. Surely I can simplify that. I think I can. I think I have a highest common factor. Let's just try halving them, because 2 is surely a factor because they're both even numbers. So this translates down to 500, and this one would translate down to 171. So what I've just done there is I've just halved both of those numbers in order to simplify them. So my highest common factor I've used is 2. So my answer will be now 171 over 500. And now I know 171 is a prime number. Okay, I've worked that out. So I know it must mean that I can't simplify it anymore. So there's no common factor that goes into 171 that goes into 500. Okay, so my answer is actually a mixed numeral, because I've already established there's one whole, which I've seen here, and a fraction, which is that there. And that's it, guys. That's converting decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals.